The All People's Congress Party, in their monthly parliamentary press conference yesterday, had said the government of President Julius Maada Bio should treat the Feed SALONE agenda with all seriousness, citing a recent report from the World Food Programme, which indicated that 82% of the country's population are food insecure, among which 18% of households are severely food insecure. So this morning, to look at the broader issue around this, food sufficiency in Sierra Leone and the likes, we're being joined by Imran Sillah, who is a member of the Strategic Camps Unit, MYC, and Honorable Ibrahim Barrie, APC MP, Bombali District. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, thank you.
And a warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning. We are happy to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
So what are your concerns from the All People's Congress, as you raised yesterday?
Thank you so much. We are happy to be here. You know, the monthly press conference is part of our parliamentary team's initiative to keep the people of this country updated on our positions, and also to fulfill our mandate as an effective opposition. When we launched the monthly press conference, the maiden one, we focused on the economy. We had our leader, Honorable Abdul Kagbo, and provided Sierra Leonean with an update of the economic indicators, and also at the end of the press conference provided, we are there not only to provide Sierra Leoneans with a picture of the bad things, but also at the end of the day to proffer recommendations so that we fulfill our mandate as constructive opposition. And then on the second parliamentary session, we looked at the NIG crisis. We invited experts there as well, together with colleagues, honorable members. And then, so yesterday, we looked at the agriculture sector, the food security situation of the country. We recently, as you may know, the president was in parliament to fulfill the annual commitment, the state opening of parliament, where of course he made he advanced some of the achievements of this current government on the Feed SALONE. So we decided yesterday to look at food security, and then as you have seen, you were there, we referenced not the APC's report or in fact, a Sierra Leonean report, but rather we have what we call the World Food, the WFP. They have their annual monitoring security situation reports, and it shows that we are one of the countries that have significant food insecurity issues, increase in hunger, and then, but as usual, we applaud the commitment to just even to make Feed SALONE, to make agricultural development as a priority of the government is something we applaud. But then, as opposition, just like the role of civil society, we have to keep them on their toes, because this is not the first project that we've seen, flagship project that we've seen in this country that could experience so many challenges. So what we highlighted yesterday, we drew attention of Sierra Leoneans to the WFP reports. We drew attention of Sierra Leoneans to the Toma Bomb project that was launched in 2021, and how much has been invested there, what's the results so far. And then we drew attention of Sierra Leoneans to the Chiefdom Youth Farms. We also drew attention of Sierra Leoneans to, we looked at comparative, we looked at the issue of domestic rice production, all of those things. And then we concluded the press conference with providing recommendations to this government, policy recommendation that we believe if the government adopts and takes seriously, we will achieve the desired results. And one thing I would like to reiterate here is our position, as always, that from the first time we started to debate the budget in Parliament, and then even recently in our press conference, we re-echoed that even though we are in opposition, does not mean that we are opposed to the development of this country. We want the government to succeed. We want to ensure, we want to see a country where the food insecurity will be massively reduced so that Sierra Leoneans are food secure. We want to see a society where we can produce the rice, our staple food. We don't want to see a situation where even to access staple food is a crisis. So whilst we applaud the vision, but we are concerned about the strategies, we are concerned about the policies, and that's why we want to keep government on their toes to ensure we get it right.
Do you think the strategies are flawed?
Well, we can't say they are flawed, because basically the vision is a good vision to ensure we have food self-sufficiency, to prioritize agriculture is a good one. But you know, these are things, especially something that has to do with hunger situation of the population. You don't look at it from a political lens. You look at it from the reality perspective. I was telling a colleague that a friend was telling me that when you quote the statistics, it's like a theory. I said, no. The interesting thing is that every day you meet the statistics. You go to the market, you meet the statistics. You know, today imagine somebody you are paid 1.8, a young teacher, and then you have to buy a bag of rice around 1 million. That is not about statistics. It's the reality. So it's about how we can. So I think the strategies, we cannot say they are flawed, but we need to ensure we enhance accountability, we enhance a monitoring and evaluation as we recommended. Sometimes government can have a good vision. Government can invest. We see tractors. We see over $34.1 million invested into the Toma bomb. But the president will not be in the field to monitor. So there will be other people to implement. It's just like the free quality education. There are the teachers, there are the nurses for the free healthcare, the frontline workers. So those frontline workers are the real actors that will ensure you succeed in a particular policy. So how do you ensure they do the right thing? It's through proper monitoring, through proper evaluation, keeping them always on their toes. So it's not, I will not say it's a fraud policy, but we have to ensure, just like a normal project, we push the actors, we push the institution, we ensure that we get the desired results of the feed salon at the end of the day.
Added to these press conferences, what other practical measures as an opposition party are you doing? Are you more of a watchdog, or are you just concerned in governance only?
Well, you know, the good thing is that the opposition, we have members of parliament, 54 elected members of parliament. Then we have members that are in the local council, the mayor of Freetown, as you know, like that. So we are part of governance. And in the area of parliament, for example, we have 3 fundamental mandates. We are there to make law. We are there to represent our people and to provide oversight. So, for example, when they present the budget, we debated, we proffered constructive recommendations. We are part of the committees to ensure we get it right. But you know, as always, the government, the ruling government has the executive decision, they have the power. So irrespective of the fact that we are in governance, but we are limited because we are the opposition. So we need to ensure that we keep them on their toes. We need to ensure that we monitor. That's natural. At some point, between 2007 to 2018, they were playing similar roles in different ways. Today, we are in this situation. We need to ensure we also provide Sierra Leoneans with provide them with a solid opposition. That is the beauty of democracy. We don't want to see a single driver driving our governance trajectory forward. But we also need to have credible opposition, credible civil society, credible media, and that's what we will enjoy at the end of the day.
Imran, what's the situation of the feed salon?
So thank you again. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, I think this is going to be a very constructive dialogue because I think we have seen from the Honourable Member on behalf of his colleagues sort of giving their own take on the feed salon project and agriculture. But then more importantly also profiling solutions, right? So it means, well, it may mean a number of things. Number one, that the feed salon project is actually a good one. How does it fit into the broader landscape of the economy, right, in trying to turn things around? That's a positive. Number two, what are the benchmarks? What do we expect in the medium term? What do we expect in the long term? And how do we continue to revisit? And I think that is where they come in as members of parliament. Let me also add in this conversation that there is an oversight committee on agriculture. Yes. And I think it is bipartisan. So meaning there are APC members of parliament, there's also SLPP members of parliament. and paramount chiefs also in that committee, as is the case for every other committee, right, in terms of their oversight responsibility. So, I mean, I think it is worthwhile for them to have their press conference. I mean, I can understand the mindset and the concept behind it, which is to continue to keep their party supporters excited about the work that they do, but then also, I'm sure, to reach out to potential members and the public at large in terms of what their positions are. But then they also have another opportunity as members of parliament for those who are in the Oversight Committee on Agriculture, because they interact and interface directly with officials of the Ministry of Agriculture, but then also with the minister, right? So, I mean, for all of those project sites across the country, whether it be Tomabom, whether it be it in Samu, Kambia district, and all the rest of it, I mean, they understand firsthand what is happening, and I'm sure they sort of also acknowledge, if not necessarily appreciate, they acknowledge how much progress has been made, and that is why he has said, in his own words, that their effort is to continue to put government on its toes, basically, right, so that we're able to deliver. And I think, for me, it is something worth commending. That is the role of members of parliament. That is what they're meant to be doing. We may have fundamental differences, right, in terms of what the approach could have been. But the fact of the matter is that there is a blueprint for all of us to get involved in and continue to see. Government has a responsibility year on year, because we have set those ambitious targets, 25% year on year. I think we're talking about 75% over a period of 3 years in terms of reducing the importation of rice, but then also consequently increasing the exportation of cocoa, coffee, and cacao. Right. So I think, and that process has already started. Yeah, with the number of investments there is right now on the Feed Salon Agricultural Project, we're beginning to count the gains, if you like. So by next year, we'll be talking about whether we have achieved 25% in our first year. By the following year, we'll be looking to see whether we've achieved 50%. So 25% on a 2-year basis. And if that is not the case, what needs to be done? And I think that is where the recommendations come in handy, right, to continue to have those conversations. It is not because there's a policy in place, there is a vision now by His Excellency the President, implementation is on. That means you cannot review, tweak, and change certain things, because in the first year, you're bound to take stock and see what was successful and what can be improved on. And I think that is where those recommendations come in handy. So I think I would urge and say that we need to keep this dialogue and this conversation going. It is what this country needs at this point in time. Okay. Right? If you can only talk about development if the conversations are constructive, and I think that is what he has brought to the table on behalf of parliamentarians, but then I think on behalf of his party also. So I think it's a laudable venture.
So the statistics is alarming, you know. 82% of Sierra Leoneans facing food insecurity. It means sometimes they are among the
we all did not.
You don't look it, by the way. But.
And 26%, including children who are suffering from chronic malnutrition. Yeah. And you've also mentioned that there would be reviews after every 2 years to see if we've achieved 25%. Are we on track with the Feed Salon agenda? It's an ambitious but very laudable agenda. Are we on track with that?
So, I mean, let me go back to the statistics. I think, I don't know if the Honourable Member has that bit of information. I think it will be useful for this conversation, or maybe for some other dialogue as to whether we have like a 3-year period with regards to this particular data. So not just the one that he's alluding to, which you have referenced, but what was the data like the year before, and then going back to 2 years after, because I think it helps to give a sense as to the direction, what has improved, what needs to change, and all the rest of it. But if you single out just the data for this year, in a way, I think we're doing a disservice to the whole conversation, because it does not give you an accurate picture. So, for example, when we talk about the fight against corruption and all what we have achieved, we go back to a 5-year period, right, from 2018 to 2023. We can tell you that year on year, we have passed the MCC scorecard year on year on the fight against corruption. This is what we have achieved. And, we were selected for the MCC Compact. We have been approved for the MCC Compact, blah, 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 and all the rest of it. Because, there is a pattern. There is a consistent pattern. So, and that is why data are useful. They do not only inform you about the here and now in terms of what is happening, but it also gives you a picture, right, in terms of movement or not. So I think it would be useful to have a data over a period of 3 years going back so that we fully understand. But then, look, I think it is precisely because of such data that is why His Excellency the President is focusing on agriculture and food security, yeah? So that we can change the narrative. We understand what the narrative has been over the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah? We have been importing largely. Our export crops have been reducing year on year. And so how do we change that dynamics? How do we change the narrative? There has to be a conscious and deliberate effort by government, which is what President Barrie is doing, to make sure that we begin to import less, right? But then also begin to export more of our own products, cocoa, coffee, and cacao. At the moment, we can sit here and boast about Sierra Leone exporting oil to neighboring countries. That is because there was a conscious and deliberate effort by His Excellency the President, right, to make sure that we're able to manufacture oil, right? And so it is now locally produced. We can now also boast about Sapco sardines. And if you go to the stores around town, they're cheaper than the imported ones, and which is what I go for now anyway. Because based on my own culture, which is not far removed from my brother, he's probably fuller. We have a banter in our traditional setting. We can say, "I won't stand and cook, then I won't slave." Then they were becoming a madiga. We're all big into lafidi, and so for me, I go for that Sapco sardine now because I try to promote local content, and so there are a number of what should I say, beautiful things happening. Okay. It is how do we harness those, right, in large scale, so that we'll begin to see the real benefits and the profits, right, in terms of our development agenda.
That brings us to the Tomabom Rice Project. That project sits on 4,000 hectares of land. How far have you gone with that?
As I sit here, I do not have the exact and accurate updates. I have to make the point. Okay. But we know it is part of the investment in agriculture. So it's not only Tomabom. It is also in places like Samu and other places in Cambia district where we have a significant amount of investment. So one of the things we have done more broadly, right, is to expand our rice production. We have done mechanization of value chain. We've done research and quality input. We've revived cooperatives as a government, development of agribusiness, establishment of agro-industrial hubs, support of armed forces in agriculture, financial instrument for agriculture. We tailored financial solutions such as community banks, $10 million agricultural credit facility at a 10% rate, and the pioneering crop insurance scheme worth 28 million leones. Ag-tech and climate smart agriculture, empowerment of women and youth, improved farmer earnings. So, broadly, this is what the interventions are like, right, in the agricultural sector. With regards to Tomabom, I think they've also benefited in no small ways in terms of all of these investments. But we'll wait to see, because we know that thousands of hectares, right, was utilized, right, this year. And so we'll wait to see what those returns are going to look like. That would inform us two things. How successful have we been so far in terms of our efforts on feed, salon, and agriculture? Have we been able to meet the 25% mark in the first year, right, when it comes to the importation of rice? And so once we begin to take stock, I think we would have a fair sense as to how much needs to be done, right? But that this government is committed. That was why His Excellency the President did travel to Vienna and had that commitment of $800 million, both for the energy sector and for agriculture. So, and it shows his commitment, right, to continue to harness resources directed towards agriculture and food security.
Against when shall we be seeing these gains? You know, visible?
Well, I think I mean, at the end of this period, we'll begin to take stock. Obviously,
I mean, this year.
That's my sense. That's my sense. We'll begin to take stock because we know that those cultivations, I mean, happened at the start of the rainy season, and we know that a lot of crops were planted, a lot of hectares was utilized for that purpose, and so we're waiting for the returns. I'm equally as excited as you are, right, to see what those returns are going to look like and whether we were able to meet the 25% mark, right? And we'll come back and have those conversations as to how much progress, right, we have made over the period and what we intend to do going forward. And I'm sure those recommendations coming in from my brother, the Honorable Member of Parliament, and his colleagues would also help, right, to keep us in shape and in perspective, and see what else we can try differently as we move on to the second year.
Honorable, so we are at the forefront of this. The price of a bag of rice now has jumped above 1,000, you know, as you alluded earlier. If you were to advise this government, what would you say they should do now? Should be perhaps the primus among their agendas to ensure that food security is gotten or harnessed in Sierra Leone, which seems to be the problem at the moment.
Yes, so the key is to increase production. You know,
production of rice, you mean?
Yeah, production of rice. That's our staple food. So I think we got it wrong as a country was when the government added taxes on the imported rice. You remember the 5%, 10%. Well, the justification was that it's a way to support local content. But as you know, policies, they are not like hard science. Is you have unintended consequences. So I think what we could have done here is to ensure the moment we have enough rice in the markets, and then we can do that as a way to support local production. But now the unintended consequence here is that we have increased taxes on imported rice, but then the local production is taking time. I understand, yeah. Now, for example, so much has been invested, Tomabom, Samo, we are waiting. But then, you have Sierra Leoneans that are in desperate situations. You understand? These are things, forget about the statistics. Sometimes people don't understand statistics. But there are people in extreme places that are not even sure of what their next meal will be. You understand? So I think where we need to push. That's why yesterday we recommended that let us treat the food security issue of the country as a crisis. I was talking to a professor before 2 days ago, an expert in agriculture. I wanted to have his opinion about the
Local
situation
professor?
in the country. Yeah, okay. The situation of food security, agriculture, rice. He said to me that I think there are good commitment, but I will recommend from you now, from Parliament to government, treat the issue of food insecurity the same way you fought against Ebola, the same way you fought against COVID, the same way we see the energy from the First Lady fighting against gender, child violence. Treat the food insecurity the same way. Let us put the energy. But again, sometimes it will be unjust to just put the pressure on just one institution, because it's a call for all of us. We all have a role to play, including us as members of the opposition, and that's why we decided to make it a theme. That's why we decided to have research come out and end up with recommendations. And then, so I think we need to push. I think the Tomabom project has been there now from 2021, and massive investments have gone there. We are now, I was in a program, Liberty on Live, with an SLPP MP, I think a month ago. So he was asked, when exactly are we expecting harvest? When exactly are we expecting results? So he assured us that within 6 months. So we are also...
Within 6 months from when?
From
From then?
July, from then. I think we were there July.
July, okay.
Yeah, so we are hoping that at least this time around we can get results from the Tomabom, and we will continue to push not just the Tomabom but also to support farmers. As part of our recommendations yesterday, we also recommended that farmers be provided with the necessary support. Today, we are living in a world where climate change, we are seeing the consequences of climate change, flooding, unprecedented weather patterns. So now farmers need the modern training, the modern technology, all of that. I spoke to the manager for Leone Poultry in McKinney. They are doing extremely well. They are producing like 10,000 eggs a day. So I said, what are the challenges? I'm going to a press conference and I will be going to radio. What are the challenges you want me to advance? He said, I think one of the major challenges we are experiencing is feed. To feed the chickens. Okay. So they have to go to Guinea, they have to go to Mali, you know, so we need to support farmers in the production of maize, so that and then also financing. You know, there are small scale farmers who need the necessary finance. Sometimes the area of the fertilizer, I would like to bring this also. They come with the fertilizers, they plan to support them, but it's about the timeliness. You know, the agriculture is seasonal, you know. So sometimes, and because of this too much bureaucracy, or because of, I'll even say sometimes delay or corruption, by the time the fertilizers gets to the farmers, it will no longer be useful at that time. So it becomes waste. So at the end of the day, that's why we really emphasized yesterday on accountability, on monitoring, because the president will have a good vision, the government will have a good vision. We have the agriculture oversight committee. I'm not a member, but sometimes I attend their programs to learn. I'm a member of the finance, so we are related, because we are looking at what government is spending, and there. So basically, we are seeing investment, we are seeing projects, but now we are looking for results. And I was making fun with my colleague SLPP MP the other time that, look, if it was a 10-year project, you are now 6 years. So that means we should now get to action, we should now get to results. Okay, so basically what I will recommend, and what we will continue to push and urge as members of the opposition, is to ensure that we get results. For example, from the Tomabom, when are we expecting harvest? So let there be agriculture audits, let there be accountability, let there be more push from all of us, including civil society, because massive investments have gone into that particular sector. The vision is a good one, but we need now results. We need to see enough rice in the markets that could trigger the reduction of the price. We need to see increase in production, all of those things. So I think the key here is to enhance robust monitoring and mechanism, and also to push for us to see tangible results.
What role do communities play in, supporting the Feed Salone agenda, and, taking a look at some of the rural areas where farming was being done, even though maybe it was more of subsistence farming instead of commercial farming? But what role do communities also play? And there's a lot of, rural-urban migration in town as well. And the food insecurity level has actually risen. In 2022, it was around 73%. In 2023, it was around 78%. And now in 2024, it's at 82%. So how do communities also contribute, even at grassroots levels?
Yeah, well, they have a key role to play. But what we also need to take into consideration is the constraint. In agriculture, we have what we call enablers and disablers. For example, I worked for an NGO before coming into politics, Sierra Leone Network on the Right to Food. So we were supporting local farmers, advocating for agricultural communities affected by mining operations. So one of the constraints I noticed is, for example, connecting the market and the farm. You will have that woman or family doing agriculture, subsistence farming in Tongo community, for example. Then they produce, they harvest. They want to take their produce to the markets. But the challenge now, the feeder road. you know the challenge, storage, all of those things. So there are other enablers like infrastructure is key. You understand? And that's one of the things we recommended. Sometimes people in the local areas are involved in subsistence farming. We used to go to different communities inside. You know, you see producing plantain, rice, and I will say, how do you get them like to Makeni, to Freetown, to Poloko? And they will tell you, well, that's the constraint. And it's sometimes like produce like plantain and other things, at the end of the day, without proper electricity and proper storage, it becomes another waste. So in as much as the community, they are in the forefront, they need to complement the efforts of government, but us as a government as well need to provide the enabling environment. We need to ensure we connect the market and the farm. We need to ensure they get the necessary support, the fertilizers, the training, the finance, the investment they need, and we also ensure we support them not only during the planting season, but even on post-harvest, to ensure that we take them to the farm and then we'll get the desired result. So if you ask me again, the role of the community, they have a critical role to play in ensuring we achieve food security as a country, but government need to provide the pillars. And the pillars, that's what I talked about, the feeder roads, the investment, the training, you know.
Imran, who are in charge of these farms?
So, I mean, the model is a public-private partnership.
Okay.
Government secures the funding, whether directly or indirectly. So, for example, Tomabom, we know it is Badia, we know it's the Islamic Development Bank, it's and one other bank, and then there's a government contribution to it. It is a culmination of those four that supports the Tomabom project. So I think it's similar all over. So even if you're talking about the machineries, government was able to secure the funding, get the machines, right, for agricultural purposes, and then we have what you call machineries in all of the 15 districts, and those have been managed by private individuals. So if anybody wants to have access to them, you can easily meet those individuals, and you're able to access those machines to go to your farm, and so on and so forth. And I think he has made a very valid point on the feeder roads, and that is also part of the challenge that we have faced. So it's not only about President Julius Maada Bio and his government since April of 2018, since the Pope was an altar boy. Whenever you talk about agriculture, there's always a challenge when you talk about when it comes to feeder roads, because that is what makes it easy and accessible, and storage also for those who are doing their farming and have managed to plow, right, what has been cultivated over time. How do you get them to those main places, right, so that you're able to sell? Many times, I mean, they perish even before coming to those to those places,
exactly,
simply because of the lack of proper roads, right, for them to be able to move from point A to point B. And that is why even with regards to rice, we know that a lot of those rice products, when they cultivate, right, they take them to Guinea and other places.
Yeah.
Right? Because it is much more easier for them. If you're living in places like Cambia and all the rest of it, once you do your rice cultivation, you harvest, you take them to Guinea. Right? It is shorter, easier, and there's also an available market. So we need to have what you call the pull factors now. That is what government has been trying to do since the elections 2023. Now that agriculture and food security, right, is the mainstay of the Big Five. How do we encourage farmers, with the support of government and government intervention, and also private individuals, right? How do we encourage them to bring those products for us, rather than taking them to Liberia or to Guinea and other places? I mean, it might interest you to know that even pepper has been taken to places like Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast, Dakar, from Sierra Leone. How do we encourage those, right, to bring them to us, so that it affects the price of those products, essential products in the market, right? But that we're able to also utilize them but then also export. I mean, that's the essence of the rice production over time. Because if we're able to reduce 25% year on year, 75% over a period of 3 years, it means we would have had sufficient enough to begin to think about actually exporting rice now. China is no better than us. Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, all the places we go to, their population size alone, they're still able to produce rice and cultivate enough for themselves, but then also able to export. I think we have been low on ambition as a state, right? And I think we need to get the right mindset again, right? To get the right investment, right concentration, right focus, right drive in terms of leadership, like His Excellency the President is providing, to get to that point where we're able to cultivate, produce, harvest enough to be able to export. And I think it's only a matter of time. Yes, there are challenges now. There are a lot of things we need to get right, but at least we know what the blueprint is now. We know what the vision is. We know what the drive is. We know what the investments are. We need to begin to take stock. And I mean, like he said, from what his colleague member of parliament said to him, in the next 6 months, we'll all come back and have these conversations, right? One more thing I'd like to talk about, and that has to do with the reference he made about those who are into poultry farming, and their challenge with feed. I'm aware that there was a World Bank project. It was supported by the World Bank. Government of Sierra Leone was implementing, which provided a lot of assistance for the agribusiness sector. So he's talking about this guy who is doing 10,000 eggs a day. I'm aware of another one who does about 400 cartons a day, and he supplies Kailahun, Kenema, Bo, and Freetown, and that is sold out on a daily basis. So there are promising signs. We also went to Tonkolili district, Jamje. He's into rice cultivation. It's the first Sierra Leonean I have met in my lifetime where they bluff say in a multi-millionaire in dollars. On rice cultivation, no. No, he said that to us, not to 110, not to 210. He said in a multi-millionaire in dollars on rice cultivation. And what it means is we, and part of the effort, I think, and it's for all of us. Right. How do we make agriculture sexy? How do we make it sexy? No, seriously.
No, that's true.
Because you see young man and they left for apply no more than they can't for cash, you don't do Okada business.
Exactly.
It's a conversation. They could be more gainfully and better employed and utilized in those places on agriculture. But Chade, now you go talk about agriculture, they understand that. Now, no, the one for put and choices done their ways. They ride Okada, they move from their village to the next big town, and then before you realize it, to some regional headquarters and on to Freetown. There we come. With nothing to do in Freetown, they will come still. How do we make agriculture sexy? Yeah? Attractive, exciting, right? So that our young people would find the reason and would understand, say, money depend on business day.
Indeed.
Past some of the other things they already did.
That's a question I think will be answered subsequently.
Definitely.
It's a very big question. Well, thank you very much indeed, Imran.